actually give a proper review of this bike now. Had it for 3 to 4 months, and I've been to 4 bike parks, north, south and east of the UK, so in a better place. It's not just based on one day of testing on my local woods. So this is my full review, and the weather at the moment is about as wet as an octopus tentacle, so yeah, it sucks. Time for a bike review. Yo! Oh! Quick overview, riders. This is the Canyon Torcon CF8. I'm really stoked with the sort of build now. I've changed a few things. I've got new wheels on it to kind of make it a bit more lively on the handling. Stock wheels were great, really strong, kept them as spares, but very heavy, which for an e-bike you wouldn't think matters, but I'm noticing the riding's more lively, so I'm happy with that. Changed the stem in the cockpit, shorter stem, high-rise bars. That's my rider preference. The Canyon spaces are a bit weird, but that's the trade-off. And I've now upgraded to the EXO T-type rear mech, which is awesome for e-bike. Haven't broke a chain yet. I should say touch wood. I need to find some wood to touch. Okay, wood touch, can carry on. So also got the Reverb AXS seat post as well, so kind of not quite the wireless cockpit, but tidied up all the cables, which is nice for an e-bike. And it comes with the EP8 motor, not the Z01, just the EP8. That's probably the trade-off with this bike. You don't get the fanciest motor. That motor is a bit of a brute, but I've had no problems. I've just used it out of the box, haven't even connected it to the app. I'm not even going to try and update it via the app, so I've just been riding it and it's been reliable. It works. Again, a bit of a brute. Sometimes when you get up to speed, it sounds like you're torturing a dolphin a bit, the way it winds, but again, I've had no issues, so that's all I can say. I didn't buy this bike for the motor. I bought this bike probably in spite of the motor, if that makes sense, but it's still riding fine, so I have to say I've got no complaints on the motor. Geometry for an e-bike, I guess it's not that radical these days, but definitely have a nice 63.5-degree head angle, no flip chips on this or anything like that, so that's just the way it is. Comes mullet, which I really like. I'm converted about a year ago and no going back for me on the MX setup. But yeah, and then you've got the kinematics and the rear shock, so unlike the Spectral or the Strive, this is probably a bit more unique in their e-bike range, because you've got that kinematics, which is actually a bit more like a YT Choose downhill bike, if you've seen those, and similar to their Sender. So and it's the 445 chainstays, which I actually think that's a real good sweet spot between not being too long and also, you know, being short enough you still get a bit of a pop in a playful handling. So it's probably the longest chainstay I've had, longer than the Spectral, I think. I'm not sure about the Strive. Longer than my Trek Fuel, and probably longer than most non-e-bikes, I would say, the chainstay, but it is stable. But obviously when you go really long, it's like you're trying to lift a Harley Davidson, so you don't want that feel. That's, you know, too stable. But I'm just saying, I think the 445 chainstay length, I was kind of worried it might be a bit too long, but I'm finding it's actually nice and stable, and I'm kind of embracing it. And I think it's a good middle ground, because this bike feels poppy and playful. And again, the rear shock, the suspension, definitely really enjoying that on this bike. You can get away with a lot. Very progressive, very poppy, everything you want on a bike to take to bike parks. And on to that. Any full fat e-bike at any bike park, if there is an uplift and it's one of those kind of short but steep push-ups, amazing flaps. Any bike will give you that, but you have all that weight and it can carry a hell of a lot of flow, which is awesome. But what I'm realizing, and what I'm really starting to appreciate with this bike, it's probably the case with any full fat e-bike, but this bike's got very friendly geometry, very lively handling, and very poppy, so it can be used as a weapon, as an instrument of brute force, so you can just plow through things, carrying tons of speed, get away with cases because you've just got so much force behind you. But when you actually ride it on some other tracks, because you've got all that sort of flow and weight to carry, you actually need to kind of find a way to finesse the tracks or ride it with more finesse. And that's what I'm starting to appreciate with this bike, is you can kind of do both, use it as a brute force to just power through things, or actually kind of, you know, finesse the weight a bit, and that's, I'm trying to find that balance, and this bike's helping me to sort of embrace that. And yeah, my local tracks are a good example of that. So this is the first bike park, my local one. All-weather tracks, but what's great about having 180mm travel is you can do the bigger stuff there and get away with, again, your casing. I should call this a case machine rather than the bike. The ultimate case machine is probably my way of riding it at the moment. But this bike was awesome for that place, and again, the element of finesse, like when you do the sort of boner log and the small gap before it, it's about actually going really slow on the first tiny gap, and then obviously carrying the speed and the finesse to keep your precision and go off the end of the boner log, and then carry tons of speed for the 40-foot double after that. So check it out. Then you go to a bike park like Woody's in Cornwall, real mix of terrain. Some of it felt a bit overgrown, but not in an unrideable way. I think some of the tracks probably get hit more than others, I'm guessing, but yeah, interesting terrain. But this is where some of the tracks, all that travel, all that weight, obviously too much, but again, you can still have a really good time on this bike, but then you're capable of taking it onto the bigger tracks. So it's a real good all-rounder for bike parks, I reckon. The compromise is maybe a bit overkill on some of the, you know, the blue runs, but I'm still having as much fun on that as I think I would on other bike, and just get away with it a bit more. So happy days. So I don't think a bike can make you a better rider, but I do think the right bike can give you the confidence to think you're a better rider. And although that's a very different thing, interesting enough, I don't think the result is that different. And this is where this bike, I took it to Dirt Farm in Wales, where they've got some amazing primo dirt tracks. The flow there is like something else. When it's dry, I should add, in the wet that place gets pretty sketchy, but when it's a dry day, those tracks ride amazing. And I had such a blast on this bike there, and this is where I wanted to do a T2B on the Proline Full Moto there. I've never done it before, and this bike certainly gave me the confidence to feel like I could do it, and as a result I did. So again, I'm not saying it's the bike, but would I have done it on my Trek Fuel with less travel and worrying about snapping the frame if I case a jump really bad? It has happened, so I don't know. But this helped me say, yep, I want to tackle this, and having this bike, it made me feel like I could do it, and again, I did. So let's go to that, because that was the highlight of my year so far, I think.
So hot. Whoa. Sketchy. Whoa. Yo. Yes! Oh, sugar!
Am I saying this is the best bike ultimate bike for bike parks out of all the bikes you can buy. There'll be new ones next year, there's ones coming out. Propane are looking like they're making some pretty good ones now, but I think for me it's the ultimate bike park sort of machine, because I'm really enjoying how it's riding, and I've been able to conquer some trails that I haven't approached or had the confidence to do before. Maybe I would have anyway through natural progression, but definitely feeling some progression through this bike. So for that, I'm really thankful, really enjoying it. And I've had quite a few comments from my last 2 videos I posted a few months ago when I first got the bike, saying there isn't much about this bike available. So I do hope this helps, because I do think this bike is maybe not underrated, but maybe not as known about as some of the other brands. That I don't think Canyon are making as big a song and dance about this as maybe they should be, because I think it's really good. Anyway, thanks for watching, riders, and until the next video. Yo!